Good afternoon, everyone. So, if we take a look here. Amanda, if you'd like to take some slides. So this is, there's hundreds of FTSE companies, and each one has a board, and then an executive committee, and then a chief executive that runs that company. In 2020, there were more CEOs named Peter than there were women. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sit very well with me. If we have a look at these photographs here, I think we've kind of got used to seeing this, but this should not be normal. My name is Katie Litchfield, and I'm the founder of Weekwell. I'm going to share a little bit about my journey, and then I'd like to share some top tips which I've learnt from many people around the world, which may help you on your journey. So, I used to work at the Financial Times for 18 years, and when I was there, I created a forum for the most talented people in FTSE companies, and they would come along to the events. And I'm talking about events with Bill Gates, Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, governor of the Bank of England. So I would have 200 people in the event. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking, where are all the women? There must have been a handful of women at each event. So then I started talking to the heads of HR, and I realized that the women were there, but actually lower down. It was the middle managers. So I went back to the FT and I said, no, we need to replicate this forum, but for middle managers and for women only. And that's exactly what I did. And then I started speaking to the women. And I realized very, very quickly that they were all feeling quite isolated and having the same challenges everywhere, but they all felt they were on their own. They weren't talking to each other. So when I left, and I'm a big believer in follow your passion, the rest will fall into place, I left the FT and I was there going, right, what am I going to do about this? So I reached out to my contacts, reached out to 150 people, and I met with them, from CEOs to heads of HR in London and New York, and I listened. What were they telling me? And that was something really interesting, especially from the CEOs. I said, why aren't you hiring women onto your executive committees? And they were like, we can't find them, Katie. What? What do you mean you can't find them? They were like, well, no, you find me them and I will hire them. So I did some research and I saw that there was a report talking about the FTSE companies, that there was just under 5,000 women, one level below the executive committee. And you can't see them? I kind of took that as a little bit of a challenge. So I was like, right, come on then, let's go and find them. So this is where I created the Weekwell Awards. These are the first awards ever for women one level below the executive committee on listed companies, not only in the UK, but the whole of Europe, Asia Pacific, and the Americas. I thought I've got to be smart about this. It's got to have a really robust way of getting these women through. So we find the women individually. We also speak to companies to say, why don't you put your women forward for these awards? They have to answer 8 very reflective questions. What have they done over their whole career? What is the impact they've had, not only on themselves, but on their company, on their team? When they're marked blind. No name is shown to the assessors. No companies are shown. The top 24 come through, 8 categories, all representing the executive committee roles around the table. And then I thought to myself, hold on, it's really important that the women that come through, yes, they've got to be brilliant on paper, but what are they like in person? And I thought, I know what? I'll get the CEOs to interview them. So I've had the CEO of Kellogg's, Rolls-Royce, JP Morgan volunteer their time to interview these women and then choose the winner of that category. And that really means that woman has got the leadership traits ready for an exco position. I remember that when I did the women's forum, that women felt isolated. So it was really important for me that no woman going through these awards were flashing the pan. They were visible, and then suddenly they disappear again. So I made a point of making sure that I brought every woman together. And this is what we've created now, the WeQual Global Forum. And this means that all of the women come together, and you don't even have to come through the award process. Individual women can now join the platform, the movement of coming together and actually going for the top. Now, the things that I want to share with you today, I have learnt so much. I have learnt so much from the women that I've spoken to, but I've also learnt so much from the chief executives. So whatever career you are in, if you're a student, or you are in the middle of your career, or you're older and you want to change career, I just want to go through the top 5 tips which they have shared with me. The first one is build your profile. Mainly about LinkedIn, I'm talking about here. Sometimes we get so bogged down in our day-to-day job that we forget to look at our shop front window. I don't know about you, but whenever I speak to somebody and I meet them, it's straight away I look them up on LinkedIn. What does your LinkedIn look like? Does it actually just say what you've done, or does it say what you're capable of? One of the CEOs, when I got the feedback after they'd done the interview for me, she said to me, I would have hired this woman if I'd known she'd existed. When you look at your LinkedIn page, see how many followers you've got. How are you engaging with the followers that you have? Who are you connecting with? All of this matters. I think the other thing to do is just remember to always approach people. Don't be afraid to reach out and just talk. The power of talking and learning. Number 2, know your worth. So many people that I speak to, they say, I say to them, why don't you aim for the top? Where are you going with your career? They're like, no, I can't do that. They look up and they just see that could never be me. Actually, it could. Self-limiting beliefs. We put that on ourselves so much, and it's time to take that off. You can actually do anything you want to do. Anything. You've just got to aim high. Thirdly, sort out your work-life balance. Now, I'm a mum, a single mum, divorced. I've got 2 daughters, 11 and 13. I run my own business. And my business partner, Mark Bateman, who's the chief executive of WeQual, he asked me when we first partnered up, and he said, so, Katie, what are your hobbies? Are you serious? What do you mean, hobbies? And that really got to me, because I was like, oh my God, I don't have a hobby. So the next morning I woke up and I was like, what's going to be my hobby? I know what. I think I want to be a fisherwoman. So I called up my local angling shop and just said, hi, I think I want to go fishing. If I come along to you, will you set me up and tell me where to go? And they did. And now I can happily say, over 18 months now, I fish for carp. And the biggest one I caught was about 18 pounds. And the best thing about fishing the lakes that I go to is You can't get reception on your mobile, which is just beautiful. So when I say sort out your work-life balance, what the CEOs are saying to me is that if you just work, it makes it really hard to engage with other people and for them to engage with you. If you have other interests, then it's a lot easier to talk to people. So that's what we mean by work-life balance. Number 4, get support. I couldn't have done any of this on my own. I really reached out to people at the beginning. I said 150 people. I wrote one message and I tested it out just on 5, and I just went, just left the Financial Times after 18 years, and I could really do with your advice. Do you have 10 minutes? 150 meetings came back like that, with people that I didn't even know, CEOs of companies that I didn't even know. It got me a tour around number 10 Downing Street, you know. It was, people are kind. If you ask them for their time, and particularly their advice, they will give it to you. Get the support from mentors, get the support from sponsors, but really go and talk to people, because that's where the ideas start happening. And once the ideas start happening, the energy starts flowing, and suddenly the confidence is there. Lastly, step out of your comfort zone. This is hard to do, really hard to do. In general, women particularly are very loyal to their companies. We've got responsibilities. It's a huge risk to leave. But there is a saying, what if I fall? Oh, my darling, what if you fly? I hope that these 5 things, even if one of them has helped you today, then I'm counting this talk as a success. This should be the new normal that we see. If you could take one thing away from my talk today, it would be this. Aim high. Be bold. And just go for it. I'm Katie Litchfield. Thank you very much for listening.